All right, and here we go for episode number 389 of This Week in Photo. And welcome back to TWiP. I am your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Joining me today to jump into the TWiP fray are Ms. Valerie Jardin and Mr. Yevgeny Chabatarov. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, Frederick.
Hey,
Hey,
pretty good
Evgeny.
as well. Yeah, hey.
Happy birthday, Frederick.
Thank you. I can legally drink now. I'm very happy about that, so thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, so enough about me. Okay, we have a big show to dive into today. So briefly, what have you guys been up to, Valerie? I know you've got a lot of stuff going on, especially with Street Focus and workshops and all this crazy stuff. What's happening in the Valerie world?
Well, Street Focus is going well. I'm trying to get ahead a few weeks so that I can travel in peace again and not have to worry about recording too much when I'm on the go. Although I'm going to try to do a few episodes when I'm teaching workshops and speaking at conferences and so forth. It's amazing the workshops are filling up. I mean, well into the fall of 2015. I just can't keep up, and I just added another one with street photographer Marie Legnaud, who is now located in London, and we will teach she's a really well-known French street photographer. And so it's going to be two French photographers teaching a workshop in London for a weekend in May, at the end of May. So
All
it's
right,
her territory now.
Are you gonna bring a translator along just so that people can understand?
It's actually really funny because we're both native French speakers, but when we speak photography, we switch to English
I
because
love
it's
it.
sort of our photography language. So she and I will run this workshop together for a weekend last weekend in May. So that's going on the market tomorrow. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's at your website, right?
Yes,
ValerieJardinPhotography.com.
correct.
All right. We'll link to that in the show notes, of course. And Yevgeny Chabatarov is here from 500px, all the way from the frigid North America up there in Canada. What's going on, man? You keeping warm up there?
I'm trying to keep warm, but it's winter, so that's all we get. Just like whiteness, right? Like the great white space of nothingness. Not in Toronto though, but like if you go outside. And that's what's been keeping me busy. I've been going out a lot with the team, and we were doing some crazy things like flying drones and crashing drones, and
Crashing them.
crashing is like the most fun part, I guess, right?
Well, it depends on the drone. Are you crashing the Inspire 1? Because that's a $3,000 crash right
No,
there.
we're crashing the DJI Phantom 2 Vision Plus,
Okay.
which is still expensive, especially on the parts. So like I'm well beyond my limit for
Yeah.
the toy repairs, I guess. But we've been like soaking them in rivers and like crashing them from the skies, crashing them into the light poles, and all the craziness that just like.
You guys should start dogfighting with them. Just do like air-to-air combat.
Actually, that's already happening. I was flying with one guy, and when you're having two drones in the air, you have no idea how close or far they are. Like the
Right.
distance, you don't sense it. So and like you can get some near misses. So it's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so along with that, we've been doing some kind of like other fun stuff, just hanging out, doing. I was doing workshops, but for the team. So like I was going out with the team and like shooting some waterfalls, cityscapes. I was doing the Lightroom tutorial and workshop for our for basically for the team. So like we have so many people now that some of them want to get better, and like we're doing those things.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And hey, you brought me on as a guest editor for
That's a
your.
secret.
Yeah, is
That
that
was
secret?
supposed to be a secret.
How is that a secret? That is not a secret.
Well, anyway, for people who don't know, Frederick is invited guest editor for the
Yes.
month of December to pick his favorite photos on Editor's Choice.
Mhm.
And Editor's Choice is extremely a great place for a photographer to be. Less than 0.1% of all photos are chosen in editor's choice, so it's extremely hard to get into one. And when you as a photographer get into editor's choice, you get massive amount of views and followers and likes. So like if that's your, that's a great way to get more exposure, especially for younger and newer artists that don't necessarily have huge followings. So I guess you can now terrorize Frederick with emails and say like, hey, look at
Bring
my
it on, man.
profile.
Bring it on. Because in the end, I'm gonna pick myself. That's
Absolutely, yeah.
no. I'm having fun with it. I posted today about it. I'm having fun diving through there and looking for like new, innovative, sort of shining photographers that are just getting started but having trouble getting recognized. So those are the people I'm looking for. Not the folks that already have gazillions of followers. The people that are doing work that's just as good but aren't recognized yet. So I'm digging deep and looking for them. So if you are one of those people, post on my Facebook page or hit me on G Plus or something. We'll see, and we will see. All right. My quick news is if you guys are familiar with the podcast, The Candid Frame, hosted by my friend Barry X Perillo. Valerie, I know you know him. You've led workshops in Los Angeles with the Barry X. He interviewed me for his show, and then I interviewed him for my show, and we were talking, and we're like, you know what? We should get together and do something. So we're in talks right now about him potentially joining This Week in Photo as another host on the TWiP network, which could be pretty insane. So Valerie, you know Liberian X, right?
Yes, actually, we haven't run a workshop together, but we will in a couple of months. So I'm excited about that. And I've been listening to the Candid Frame for years. I just love it. I never miss an episode. So.
Well, now you guys will be practically related, maybe.
Sometimes I steal his guests too for my show.
Well,
but I email him first.
There you go. There you go. Well, I'll be in the same network now, hopefully.
Okay, cool.
All right, guys. Before we jump into the show, I want to thank our first sponsor for this episode of This Week in Photo, and that's our friends over at lynda.com. All right, Valerie. In this what's new area, I need you to fill in what's new in Street Focus. I think what the next one's going to be. So Thursday. So whatever the show is Thursday, that should go in there, and then I'll record that because this show goes live Friday, so your show will have already gone live.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Back to the show. All right, guys. First up, this first story is Sony. Sony's in the news again. They keep releasing new toys for us to talk about and play with. So they're building on the success of their A7 series of cameras. So they released the A7, which was the first one, and the A7R. I think those two released in tandem, with the A7R being more for landscape shooters, the A7 being more of a general purpose full-frame mirrorless camera. Then came the A7S, which was and is insanely good with low light. And then now comes the A7 II, which sports full frame, or not full frame, but 5-axis image stabilization on that full frame sensor. And Sony's claiming that it can deliver up to 4.5 additional stops of stabilizing power. So it's a 24 megapixels. They haven't changed anything, so the autofocus system is unchanged, but Sony says that the AF system is now 30% faster and 1.5 times better. I don't know where the algorithm is to calculate this, but 1.5 times better at tracking moving subjects thanks to some improvements that they've made to the processor. So, interesting. So, Evgeny, I want to throw this at you first, man. So, I know you're still in the DSLR camp. I think you're shooting Canon. I believe you were toting around that last time I saw you. But when you see cameras like this and Sony continuing to push that ball forward with the popularity of the A7 series, what do you think? I mean, 5-axis image stabilization, that's up there with Olympus and their, the EM5 and the EM1. What do you think about this?
Look, first of all, I'm shooting everything with everything, right? So I'm in the Canon camp with 6D, in the Nikon camp with D810 that I'm shooting. I got the A7 recently, actually, for the team, and I'm loving it. It's just like, it's such a great format, right? It's just like so light and gives you all the results. Huge win for Sony. And I also got the Olympus, actually, the MD5, and I'm loving it as well. Like the form factor of smaller cameras is obviously a huge advantage, especially if you're shooting street or even if you're shooting things like landscapes. I don't want to haul around like a huge backpack worth of tens of thousands of dollars of gear and use only like one lens and like, like it's heavy. Right?
Yeah.
And then you look at smaller cameras, smaller lenses, and you're like, I really want that. I want to travel light. I want to have fun getting to new places and fun, being in a new city, for example. So I played with A7. I really think that A7 II is going to be a really exciting camera. I like that they moved to the magnesium body instead of kind of like a mix of plastics plus something. So it probably will feel better. Apparently it's slightly bigger, but not as big, obviously, as 6D or any of the big DSLR cameras. So we'll see. Like I'm shooting with a couple of image stabilized lenses. So when they say 4 stops, I say 3 in my real life test. So like 4.5 maybe translate to like 3.5. It's still great. Like you can shoot basically at complete darkness with current sensors, with current lenses, and it's insane, right? Like, seeing how it evolved in 10 years, that's just insane to me.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask Valerie. That was the perfect segue for this. So Valerie, I know you saw the specs on this camera. I know you're shooting your Fuji cameras. But when you see this, do you think, especially the system on the A7S, the low light of the A7S, do you need that level of low light performance on your cameras?
I probably wouldn't, but I can see how that would be super attractive to some photographers and photographers who are shooting DSLR with full frame and are, debating whether or not to make a switch. Now, this seems like this would be kind of a nice, mirrorless system for those people. I mean,
Spoken like a true Fuji girl. This would be a nice mirrorless system for those people.
No, I only experienced for a very short time, the Sony Alpha 6000, which is just not for me, but I was quite impressed with it. It's amazing focus tracking and frame rate. I mean, it was just like nothing else I had experienced, even in DSLR before. So so I can imagine that those cameras that are probably much more expensive than the Alpha 6000 would be quite an amazing camera. Yeah, not for me. Again, I really and what the thing is about the Alpha 6000, to me, it felt really light and plasticky. I felt like if I drop this thing, it's just going to shatter. I'm so used now to the Sony, which is fairly heavy for the size and very solid feeling. So it was a big difference to me. And well, the price, there was a huge price difference too. So I guess that makes sense. But then again, I don't have experience with the A7 at all, and I really can't talk about those.
But and this is to both of you guys. So we see this. The new race, it seems to be low light performance. It was megapixels, and now it's switched to low light performance and low noise and low light conditions. And then several years ago, you remember with DSLRs, it was frames per second. So we keep getting these new metrics that marketers at these companies are using to lure us into it. But on the low light side of things, I'm thinking like Evgeny, you hit it on the head. So you said, yeah, you can take photos in darkness with this. Who wants to take photos in darkness? I mean, I can see why, you're a spy and you're trying to get shots of, evildoers doing bad things and you need to get, but like when do you take shots in darkness?
I do. I shoot street photography at night all the time or in dark.
Evildoers in pure darkness?
No, actually, that's a good point. So I remember being in Havana, Cuba, a couple of years back, and I don't remember what I was shooting with, but as soon as the sun is out, there's barely light in the city. So there's like one light bulb on the street and another like light bulb lighting like a small store, and that's it. So going there with A7S, it just opens you the whole new world of instead. I remember myself, let's say like around 6 or 7 years ago, as soon as the sun is down, I'm just packing my camera and going. I'm like, if I don't have a tripod, that's it, right? Now, just like I can go out after the show and just keep shooting, right?
Shoot all night, yeah.
See, if I had to choose between low light performance and megapixel, I'll go for the low light performance any day.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, that I can use.
You're doing street now.
Yeah, I'm sure it's to the point. If you're picking extreme performance but 1 megapixel, I'll say you said no.
Right.
So it has to be like a balance of both.
Yeah, I mean, you ask a landscape shooter like Karen Hutton that question, she would pick more megapixels because she's making gallery-size giant prints. And yeah, she's on a tripod too. So yeah, it's I guess the answer, like we always say on TWiP, is it depends. And cameras are subjective. There's so many variables. There's no right answer to this. Like, people could say, yeah, the A7 II, the A7S, etc., are the best cameras you can buy. But for who? I mean, is it the best for a portrait shooter? Is it the best for a landscape shooter? Is it best for underwater models?
I think it's the best for a tired DSLR owner who is tired of hauling around all his or her gear, and like that's the perfect customer for that.
Yeah.
I think so too. Yeah.
You got to congratulate Sony though, because they're on a tear, and they are not stopping in terms of. Or it doesn't seem like they're slowing down or stopping because they keep coming out with new things, like not just the Alpha 6000 and the A7 series, but also these little action cams that they keep coming out with. And the DI team at Sony is clearly not paying attention to any of the other Sony drama that's happening in the company because they just keep plugging along. So kudos to those folks over there that are.
And they're delivering what people ask. So hey, that's awesome.
Imagine that. Delivering what the customers are asking for. What a concept.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention any other companies that aren't doing that right now. I'm not going to talk about it on this show. Lest I get, blamed for bashing certain companies. All right, so that's Sony. So the other company that's in the news this week is Adobe. So Adobe has revealed, so you guys may have recalled several TWiPs ago, we talked about Adobe and their plans to launch a cloud-based version of Photoshop that could run entirely in the cloud. So this is not like Creative Cloud where you have a subscription and whenever you launch the software, it asks for permission to the server, and if you paid up, then it launches. It's not that. This is it's like network computing. The brains of Photoshop and the code essentially lives somewhere else, and then you run it on a low-power machine, making that low-power machine seem like it feels, like it might have more power than it does. I have a few issues with this. It seems cool. So I remember back in the day there was a company called Network Computer or Network Computing, and that was their thing. There was you'd have this master computer. Even back in the olden days, that was the whole metaphor. You'd have a CPU master computer somewhere, and then just dumb terminals that connect to it. And the main computer would do all the processing, and you get the result back on your dumb terminal, which was dumb, didn't know anything. So now they're talking about doing something similar to this with Photoshop on a through the network global basis. Now, Valerie, when you look at something like this, now, and this is the perfect question for you because you have, for better or worse, played the role of the Luddite on TWiP from time to time. And I mean that with all respect. But you are not the person that embraces new technology quickly, but when you do, you grab it by the horns and you own it. When you see something like this, as much as you travel and as much as you kind of pick and choose your technology, does it seduce you at all? I mean, are you like, oh, I gotta have network-based Photoshop? What do you think?
Well, I use Lightroom, so I don't use Photoshop. Sorry.
You're like, what is this Photoshop?
I haven't used Photoshop in years.
Really?
Yes, everything I need is in Lightroom. So, no.
What if? Okay, flip the script. So Lightroom, you double-click the icon on your desktop. today it runs from your hard drive. You do your thing and you're out. What if tomorrow you did not have it on your desktop and it lived at Adobe in San Jose, and it, all your images lived locally, but the brains of Lightroom lived somewhere else, and whenever, kind of like Google Hangouts, it'd be very similar to that.
Well, now that I just ordered my new iMac, why do I need all this power?
You wouldn't need it.
I don't need it. So I'll cancel my order. No,
No, don't do
seriously,
that.
So that would be good. That I would like. But if I'm traveling and I have really bad bandwidth or something, what's going to happen? Which happens a lot. I could be like if I'm at my parents' house in France, it's slow. So I'd be stuck. I have Lightroom on my MacBook Air and it works fine. So
yeah, same here. Or if you're on a plane and you want to edit, presumably they'd have some cached local version of it, but then that defeats the purpose. Why not just keep it
exactly.
local? Evgeny, what about you? When you see something like this, you're both feet into cloud computing with 500px, right? So
so
I
I'll
would
be
imagine
playing
this
like
is
a digital prophet. Yeah. So I'll be playing the other side of the, I guess, the argument.
Yes.
Again, going back 8 years ago, you don't care what kind of data you have because there is no iPhones.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't check stuff on your phone. You receive calls and maybe some texts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 8 years later, everybody's doing everything in their phones, watching movies, videos, texting and Snapchatting and like God knows what else, right?
Right.
Bunch of stuff. And you have LTE almost everywhere. I know that some of you live in California, so almost every.
Oh, now you're throwing stones. Okay. Yeah.
Or you have Wi-Fi in most places. Back in the day, remember when Wi-Fi in Starbucks was paid? And then it was free, but limited to 2 hours. Oh no, you have to have a card with $5 on it to get it on the internet. And then it became free, but limited to 2 hours. And now it's free. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to do anything. So I can just extrapolate that for a couple of years down the road and say, like, look, we'll have Wi-Fi across cities. Thing that New York is doing by next year. The whole New York will be covered by free, ultra-fast, government-run, city-run Wi-Fi, right? And when you have this, and you live in New York City, and you say, look, I can have the whole power of Photoshop. I don't have to go and invest in, I don't know, in the new iMac and spend like $3,000 on that. I can just run $10 a month Photoshop that runs extremely fast, no delays, no waiting for those transformations, especially if you're dealing with huge files, as you might get. Is like I still have this like spinner in my head when I think about Photoshop. That's why I tried not to use it, right? Because it's so freaking slow. Yeah. So this is a great way to solve it. And I think for the first couple of years, it's going to be extremely buggy, extremely unstable, but then magically everybody will use it. Right?
Do you think so? Because it's been a couple years since
the Creative Cloud started. Are you on Creative Cloud right now?
I am on Creative Cloud, but
were you thinking that it was a ridiculous idea a couple of years ago?
I did, and I resisted, but then I acquiesced because I need it, right?
And it works, right?
And it does work, but for some people it doesn't. In terms of the licensing and them moving from computer to computer, and I've heard horror stories about people. I was on this road trip and I couldn't connect to the internet, and Photoshop got mad at me and wouldn't launch, and so that's the thing that pops up in my head is if we go to this distributed computing model, which I would agree with you, it probably is the future as network speed and availability becomes more and more ubiquitous. Of course, it seems like the logical next step, but we're back to that whole discussion from 2002 of the digital divide. Not everyone is going to have access to high-speed internet, and what about the people that don't? Then
but well, first of all, it's not like other options are not going to be available, right? Yeah. I think it's something like if you want the convenience of extremely fast Photoshop in the cloud, working through all the computations at supercomputer speeds, this is the premium that you pay. if you're willing to wait and work on your 13-inch MacBook Air that is 3 years old and like extremely slow, but you need that offline version, then
Yeah.
you're kind of like the outsider that has it's all safe, but you're not experienced who subscribe to that new Photoshop. And I think that will be the marketing message. It's kind of like, look, you don't need to have a powerful computer. Really few people buy those MacBook Pros with like, top specs. Most people buy $200 laptops,
Yeah.
at Walmart. So for those people, they'll be like, oh my God, I'm blessed with having cloud-based Photoshop that I can run on every computer
Or device, right?
or
Tablet,
device. Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when I think about it, as you were talking, I was thinking about like what did I do today that I needed local computing power? And I think the only thing that I did today that I needed a lot of horsepower for was Final Cut Pro.
And
And
you have the 5K iMac, right?
I do. Yeah,
Most people don't.
that's
Most
true.
people go and buy Walmart, like the cheapest computer that Walmart sells.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the majority. For those people, that's a great blessing to have cloud things because they're not subject to all the, slow Photoshop speeds. And if you have the 5K iMac, then you're like, what speed? Like, what slow computing? I don't know.
yeah. I don't
You
feel
get
it.
everything, right?
Yeah, I'm Superman. I have superpowers. Okay, so say you're Valerie, right? And you beat yourself into the ground, shooting and leading awesome workshops in Paris, and you're on a plane back to Minnesota.
That sounds
Finally,
sad.
finally after 2 weeks, and you're sitting in your first class seat on the plane on Virgin Atlantic, and you're editing images in this new world of distributed computing. What does that look like, Evgeny? What do you do then? I mean, are you out of luck? Do
You
you
will
just go to
have
sleep?
ultra fast free Wi-Fi on the plane.
On the plane? Come on, have you flown lately?
I did, and they had Wi-Fi, and but
Really?
more than that, it was free, and I was almost screaming. I'm like, oh my God, it came to that, and now everybody will be chatting and never offline. Like this
Yeah,
was the last place to be offline to read books and just kind of like chill a little bit.
yeah. It's over.
Now you are online everywhere.
Yeah.
That was the last place.
There is no respite from the internet. I don't know. I'm excited. But like everything, I approach with cautious optimism because you know where it could go, right? I mean, and
Oh, oh, oh.
you said something scary, Evgeny. You said, "Yeah, oh yeah, New York City will be blanketed in government-run internet." That's a little scary there. You NSA powered your internet connection powered by the NSA.
You know
Don't
what's
worry, we won't look
scarier?
at your hard drive.
You know what's scarier is that as soon as the cloud-based Photoshop is the only option, the prices will immediately rise.
Of course, yeah. Of course, yeah, because they got to stay in business. And then Adobe would, of course, need giant server farms, and it just goes on and on. Scary, but cool. It's an
Yeah.
interesting world we live in.
But this is only going to be for educational institutions for quite a while in pilot stage, it seems.
Right.
So it's going to
Right.
be a long time before it's commercially released, right?
Yeah.
The cloud change, the Creative Cloud, went much quicker than I ever expected. Right?
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
converted everybody within 3 years. And when they only just started, I was thinking that that's extremely hard. And like to undertake all that and move everybody in the cloud and provide the benefits of being in the cloud was that. I think it's going to happen sooner than we expect. I think like in
See?
2, 3 years, everybody will be using those. Sony is having the same thing with PlayStation. They have this whatever they call PlayStation Live or something.
Yeah.
Same idea. You have a dumb console and you can run extremely highly detailed games that just run in the cloud and you just get the video feed basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, interesting, interesting. It sounds from what you're saying, Evgeny, sounds like maybe the Creative Cloud subscription model was a baby step into this fully
yeah,
distributed computing model. Hmm.
absolutely. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's a
So
good
then
way
they'll
of
just
seeing it.
flip
Yeah.
the bit one day and say, okay, you guys are already paying a subscription. if you want, you can not have any software on your computer, and we'll just serve it up to you. You don't have to pay anything different. Just go to this URL, right?
Yeah.
Ugh. Or maybe 500px will jump into the game and create a distributed Photoshop competitor, and then the game really changes. I don't know.
You know that we serve Photoshop, that we have a subscription that serves Awesome plus Creative Cloud.
Yeah,
So like
tell us about that real quick, because a lot of people don't know about that.
real quick, you buy Awesome and you can get the Lightroom and Photoshop, their photography package, for less combined. So you basically pay less than $14 a month for overall package. And obviously there is a Lightroom plugin to load that to 500px. So this is your whole workflow from as soon as you load photos into Lightroom and through the Photoshop and to the presentation layer and licensing through 500px Prime. So this is like the whole workflow in one simple subscription.
And didn't you guys just release a new Lightroom plugin too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's constantly updates, so it's just mostly bug fixes for later Lightroom versions. So I think it supports like up to whatever the current one, 5.6, 5.7.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. So much stuff to talk about. All right. Before we continue with the show, I want to thank our next sponsor for this episode of This Week in Photo, and that's our good friends over at freshbooks.com.
Also Canadian company.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Story number 3. This last story I want to chat about is about GoPro. You mentioned drones, but some news broke earlier, or actually it was last week, that GoPro, and this according to the Wall Street Journal, looks like GoPro is set to make its own drones. And according to the report, people familiar with GoPro's plans say, quote, they're developing their own line of consumer drones to expand from its core business of making wearable video cameras popular with surfers and other sports enthusiasts. Then they go on to claim that GoPro will be selling multi-rotor copters equipped with HD cameras late next year, and they're aiming for a price tag between $500 and $1,000, quote, according to the report. So the drone crasher on the panel here, you get so this made, when I saw this come across, this made a lot of sense to me, because I was, you see, it seemed like when you look at DJI, of course, because they're like the Apple of the UAV, unmanned aerial vehicle market, and their latest entrant was the Inspire 1, which clearly did not have any kind of GoPro association with it. In fact, it had its own camera on it, made by DJI, etc. So yeah, of course, it seems like they were kind of distancing themselves from from GoPro, and it makes perfect sense for GoPro to say, "Hey, look at all that blood in the water there. Let's dive in and make our own multi-rotor copters to carry our own cameras around. We can do it better."
Exactly.
What do you think? You saw this news, Evgeny. What do you think about this?
First of all, it's a rumor, but
of course it's a rumor. It's reported by the Wall Street Journal, so it must be true.
It must be serious rumor. When GoPro was going for an IPO, I read their documents just to see, what the company is all about. And what's interesting is that, first of all, it's the ultimate selfie, right? This is the perfect example of how you can do the self-entertaining videos that are important to you and your friends. And getting that extreme market, obviously, you can expand it 10 times with drones and getting drone prices lower, but drone reliability a little higher that I really wish for. But they also want to have a community along with that. And GoPro just trying to match those two things. It's just like, get a cameras, attach them to drones, and launch something of a community outside of YouTube to get all that footage and like start rewarding the members for most craziest videos and most craziest stunts that they can ever accomplish.
Yeah.
The other thing is obviously seeing as you mentioned, all the GoPro cameras and all those DJIs. You see how much of the money is just like flying away, right? Because you're not making those things, and that is a supernatural step for me. Yeah. And I think like eventually there's going to be a big fight with DJI and all the other smaller firms that are doing drones and trying to make their own cameras or trying to make gimbals for GoPros. Luckily, GoPro can probably compete better than others, having some cash in the bank from the IPO. So for us, for me personally as a consumer, it's a big win because I would love to see cheaper drones and more reliable drones.
Yeah,
Probably more reliable and like the ones that
they will be
crash
in
less.
your lifetime, though. Yeah,
Yeah. And big win, I guess, for the industry. Obviously there's a lot of legal stuff, and like I don't want to even start in that direction because that is huge debate whether all the drones going to be banned or you'll have to have a real pilot license. So it's actually really interesting that the whole market can be shut down by the
by some
government, basically.
legislation.
Yeah.
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 So Valerie, I want to have you chime in on this too, but in one of the previous shows, we talked about DJI and their new community around drone photography, Yevgeny, skypixel.com. You may have heard that episode, and Don Komarechka brought up some concerns about that service. Have you seen it, and what did you think of it?
I've seen it. It looks familiar.
That's what he said. So to put a fine point on it, because of course you can't. So Don Komarechka brought it up. Right, I think it was the day that they launched or a day after it. We recorded a TWiP, and his contention was that the SkyPixel site looked strangely familiar down to some serious detail level with 500px.com. So you could take it, Yevgeny, as a compliment. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, or plagiarism. I don't know. so anyway, the end of it is the fact that a company like DJI is continues to legitimize the drone photography space means that it's a legitimate space. Period. So. But people should look at it because everything's free anyway. Valerie, when you see these drones flying around, in street photography, I can't really see you piloting a drone down over the loo anytime soon.
No, but it's interesting. And actually, I thought that GoPro already made them, but I didn't realize that they were attaching their GoPros on other brands. I didn't get that. So it only makes sense. And the price tag seems reasonable because we know it's going to be quality. I mean, GoPro doesn't make cheap stuff.
Well, the thing you have to realize that $500 is only for one flight. As soon as you crash it, you have to pay another $500.
They're revolutionizing the model.
That's what I found out. So.
Yeah, maybe you should buy flying lessons so that you could get 2 or 3 flights out of it. I don't know.
Actually, my son is in aviation school, and his university actually has the first drone pilot program, graduating class. And but it's for real drones, not
wait. What's a real drone? Because a real drone is a predator, right?
Well,
we're not talking about predators and air-to-surface missiles or anything. We're talking about hobbyist aircraft that fly around.
How many of those things can we actually have in the sky, flying at all times?
A lot.
Because if everybody can buy one for under $500, they're going to be all over the place.
Exactly.
No, weren't we supposed to get Amazon to deliver with drones for a while? Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. That's I got to call on that one. I got to call it. I don't see that ever happening. I mean, come on. I mean, because if it was me, I would, and I lived in the hood or something, I'd be like, I'm going to order some socks, and that thing would land, and it would be mine at that point. I'm just saying. Amazon will lose so many drones if they ever launch that, or they would have to restrict it to areas of low crime, and then they would get dinged for that.
Or those drones will have self-defense mechanisms.
Maybe.
You try to shut it down.
Air-to-surface missiles, yeah, right there. Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I wonder how how it's going to be regulated once we have so many of them.
Yeah.
And is it going to be? Are you going to need some special license or whatever? You wonder.
Next time you come on, Valerie, you got to have your son come on and talk about drone what he thinks about it, especially from a student standpoint and from somebody that's
And
so
a
deep
pilot,
into
yeah.
aviation. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I would love to hear his thoughts on the whole thing because
Yeah.
it's crazy. As I said on the show, I've held off getting one of those because I knew that Inspire was coming. And then now, I saw the Inspire, it was 3 grand. I'm like, okay, I can't afford that right now. Maybe I'll
For one
save up and
flight.
get it. Yeah,
For
for one flight.
if Gary's
Um,
piloting.
I could fly to New Zealand for that. So, I'm thinking now the market's heating up because I've seen all these different Kickstarters that are launching with different kinds of drones that follow you, and Parrot is out there making these drones that can roll around and then take off and fly, and DJI and now GoPro is jumping in. So I think we're going to see this competition, this fair market competition heat up, which will bring the prices of everything down, hopefully, and the level of innovation up. So maybe it's time to wait a minute, or buy a really cheap one, or buy some scraps from Mr. Chabatarov over there and fly that around.
By the way, there is another company called Plexidrone. They're just out in Toronto, like 10-minute walk from here, and
Yeah.
they just had this Indiegogo campaign where they reached $1 million, where they wanted to get just 100K, and they're building that Follow Me drones that you just can use your smartphone, not any specialized device, but just like smartphone. And this is like the Follow Me and all these things are like the ultimate selfie, right?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
something that GoPro is definitely building as well. You're out there kite surfing, and your drone is like flying somewhere next to you,
Yep.
shooting you in the nice angles with full HD or 4K.
That's
It's
so
gonna be
cool.
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many possibilities. Like you're kite surfing, you're skiing, you're, doing any kind of action sports, or, even commercial applications like weddings or street photography, Valerie. I don't know.
But I'm thinking if I'm skiing or kite surfing and I have to worry about my drone, that's asking for trouble.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially for me, because I don't know how to do either one of those. All right, guys. Let's continue this. Wow, this hour goes so quickly. Before we jump into the listener Q&A segment, I want to thank our final sponsor for this episode of TWiP, and that's our good friends over at Squarespace.com. Okay, it is time for some listener Q&A. Listener Yannick Krimp writes, I'm an amateur and currently looking to upgrade from a Canon 60D to something else. I really need better low light capabilities, but also a good AF. I shoot martial arts and chamber music, harps and stuff, plus the kids running around, etc. We didn't talk that much about the AF side of the Sony a6000. Is there a mirrorless camera that could do the job better than my 60D? I already have relatively fast glass, 17-55 2.8 and a 7200 2.8. This sounds like that A7. It sounds like
Could be, yeah.
it sounds like he needs to get the A7. I don't know. What do you think, Valerie? What would you recommend that
Yeah,
Yannick Krimp get?
I remember seeing that on the TWiP page. And yes, if he's ready to make the jump, I think a Sony would be a good good for him. I mean, the A6000 possibly, but now with that what was it, A7 II or something, seems like would be the perfect fit. But if he has invested a lot in glass and he doesn't, want to make the switch yet, I had actually suggested in the comments that he gets possibly like a 5D Mark II on the used market, which you get a really good deal right now because the market is flooded, and keep his good glass. So that's one way to look at it. If he's ready to move from DSLR, a Sony. But if he wants to upgrade his 60D, a gently used 5D Mark II at a killer, used price, it would be a good deal for him.
Excellent. Yevgeny, could Yannick also, if he wanted to keep the glass that he has, could he go pick up an A7 or something and get a Metabones adapter for it?
I would think no, and I think the having relatively fast glass is the kind of like a caveat here. So I think what he's looking is to upgrade to another Canon camera. I haven't been following that too closely, but 7D Mark II is getting really good reviews.
Hmm.
I haven't looked really closely. Probably worth checking out because it's same cropped camera, but just kind of like the definitely a step up or like a few steps uh, up. I don't know if it's worth upgrading to something relatively more pricey like 5D Mark III or 1DX, but if he's shooting what is it, the martial arts,
Yeah.
maybe I don't know, maybe he can afford 1DX. Great
Wait,
camera.
did that say martial arts or did it say marital arts? I don't know. Maybe martial. So I guess they both need fast glass for both of those. All right, listeners. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, just visit our website at thisweekinphoto.com and click on the Submit a Question link to send us a question, or you can even send us a voice message, and we may even play it live on the show.
That would be
All right.
cool.
It is time for our Picks of the Week segment. Guys, you know how this goes. You can pick anything as long as it's related to photography. Ladies first, Valerie, what is your pick of the week?
Well, this week is actually a challenge, and I did a blog post a few weeks ago. I photograph ordinary objects all the time. I think it's all about exercising your. Somebody had said visual push-ups, which I just love, and I don't know who said that, but I think it was a great phrase. So doing those visual push-ups as much as you can, and sometimes it's hard. I mean, like right now, I'm a street photographer. It's 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Not a whole lot of people on the street. And but I want to shoot every day. No matter what I shoot every day. And so this challenge that I put on my blog post was I called ordinary objects are beautiful. And the idea is to shoot an ordinary object that could be in your kitchen, for anywhere in your house, for example, and make it look beautiful. So with a shallow depth of field, with creative lighting or, a black and white conversion, do something in post-processing if you want, to make it look different. And this really caught on. And it's funny because on my stream on Facebook, especially, I see every day dozens of posts of ordinary objects, people who've picked the idea. And so I'll link the blog post because that's something I shoot all the time. So I put a lot of images as samples. And the idea is to shoot one a week, post it on your social media, and then do it for as long as you want. And people will be really amazed how much they actually learn and how creative they get when they commit to showing it and posting it. Then they're going to do it. And it's the same idea as the 365, but it's, once a week, no pressure, but do it really well. Because I think the problem with the 365 is that after a while, you'll just shoot anything just to get your picture out. And if you do more of a weekly, then you can really raise the bar and do a super great job. And it's just one a week. So go out there and shoot an ordinary object and make it look beautiful.
Awesome. And where are people posting those at? Over on
No. It's just nobody's monitoring this. It's just an idea that I throw out there. They do it on their own. A lot of people say, "Oh, can you look at the pictures?" I'm like, "No, sorry."
So email Valerie for a personal critique of your images.
It's just an idea, and keep it fun, and people can make a group out of it on Facebook or whatever and post their pictures. But it's just something to stay out of a rut, because sometimes it's tough, especially people in the cold climates like us, where even to be shooting outside on a day like today, forget it, even if you're a landscape photographer.
Speak for yourselves. It was 70 degrees here in California. Yevgeny, sorry about that.
I'm going there soon.
We'll save some of this weather for you. All right, thanks, Valerie. That was a perfect pick. Love it. Yevgeny, what is your pick of the week?
Well, my pick is the huge secret that we leaked earlier in the show, and that is 500px Editor's Choice. So last month in November, we had 12 great photographers who became editors on 500px and picked a lot of photos. You can read more about that on the blog. iso.500px.com. So this month in December, we have another 12 editors that are invited to pick their choices and in editor's choice. So Frederick is one of them, and that means a lot. So go check out 500px.com/editors to see the current picks of editors, and go nudge Frederick as much as you can, because he can pick your photo.
Yes,
And that would be the best thing that ever happened to you.
Wow.
Donations accepted?
No.
No bribes.
No bribes. No, I'm taking this seriously. This is fun because, like you said, man, this is a way to get people that wouldn't ordinarily be recognized, to get them some serious recognition, and and bubble them up to the top and get them seen. A lot of the people that we talk to all the time already have these massive followings behind them, and they're continuing to do good work and getting more and more people. But the people that are awesome and in the periphery or in the outer orbits rarely get seen. So I want to shine some light on those using the superpowers that I have for the month, and see what's out there. So
And you can
I think
make
that's
a lot of
awesome.
people happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's how great talent is discovered. That's awesome.
Yep, you know it. All right, well, cool. My pick of the week is, I try to pick something that is actually happening or that I'm actually using right now. And I was on this quest to figure out what the right video editing program was for me to use to do some of the stuff we're doing on TWiP and tutorials and stuff like that. So I was looking at, it boiled down to obviously Premiere Pro, because I already have that with the Creative Cloud, or Final Cut Pro 10, which I also already have, but I hadn't used it. Literally had not launched the app in a year plus. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's time to revisit it. They've done a bunch of releases. So I contacted my friend Chris Fenwick, who runs Final Cut Grill. It's a podcast about Final Cut, and we did a show. So he interviewed me for the show as a newbie, and I asked him all my questions about Final Cut. So it turns out Final Cut seems to be pretty cool. I've been playing with it for the past couple of days, and I even went so far as to dive into the lynda.com essential training for Final Cut Pro 10, and I went through the entire course, got up to speed on it, I think, and I purchased this thing, which is also part of my pick. So I have this guy here. I don't know if you can see that. So for the listeners, it's a My Passport Pro from Western Digital. It's a Thunderbolt drive that has a built-in Thunderbolt cable on it right there. And inside of here is 4 terabytes of, so two 2 terabyte drives that are striped together in a RAID format. So this thing is insanely fast. It's very, very fast, and this is what I'm learning Final Cut on. So between that, lynda.com, and Chris Fenwick at Final Cut Grill, those are my pick of the week, and you should check all those things out if you haven't. So very cool. I'm excited. I'm excited to get back to playing with this. It's magical. The only negative about this drive that I've found so far is the built-in cable, because it's not removable at all, so, and it's the weakest point in the chain. So if this cable breaks, then all my data is trapped on here. There's no other Thunderbolt ports on here that I can get my data out of it. I'd have to take it apart and do something or something. I don't know. But I back everything up. But that is my pick of the week. All right, guys, we're at the end of another episode of TWiP. I want to thank our sponsors for their support, and that's our friends at squarespace.com, freshbooks.com, and, of course, lynda.com. Valerie, where can people go to keep up with you and see what you're up to?
thisweekinphoto.com/street, or my website, valeriejardinphotography.com, all in one word.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that ordering like that. I appreciate it. Awesome. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
And Mr. Yevgeny Chabatarov, where would you like people to go to keep up with you?
Well, starting Friday, you can find me on thisweekinphoto.com and listen to this episode, or go to 500px.com/my last name and just see my photos.
Yes, you should have a redirect. So your last name, your first name, and since you know have ownership in the site, you should be 500px.com/e. That's it. That should get to
Hmm.
you. You know, yeah, I think you should own that. You know, take that over.
I'll think about that. That sounds like a great idea.
Right? That would be the coolest domain on the planet.
You can get
500px.com/e.
foreigntext.com/f.
There you go. I'll take it. But you could be even cooler. You could be ET. Look at that. All right, guys. And listeners, be sure to visit our new website over at thisweekinphoto.com and to subscribe to this show and all of our shows, including Valerie's Street Focus show. Just go to thisweekinphoto.com/street, which is on fire, by the way. Congratulations, Valerie. People seem to really enjoy you and street photography and what you're doing with that show. So,
Thank you.
congratulations. All right, guys. With that, it is time to take that lens cap off.